Hello and welcome everyone. A few weeks ago, I made a video about GPO, like a built-in GPU in Windows. It's a domain GPO, and I discussed about some password policy, like a maximum password age, enforce password history, and also password must meet the complexity requirements. So I talked about that. Now this GPO actually acts on the whole domain. So what if we have different departments and they want some additional requirement for the GPO for some policies that they want to enforce. So to demonstrate that I have created some of the OUs. These OUs will act as different departments. I have HR, human resources, then information technology, and sales. So in HR, I have a user called HR person. In IT, I have a user called IT person, and in the sales, I've got a person called salesperson. So I've got users in every department, and now every department wants some policy that they want to enforce. That's the probable condition. So they may have different policies for different departments, and the domain policy actually applies on all of them, but they the policies that they create applies on the users or computers in their department only. So I've got these OUs, organizational units, HR, IT, and sales. So let's go to group policy management again, and let's see what it does. So first of all, this is the default domain policy, and this applies on each and every user. So like we discussed before, it has the, let me just open it in a second. It has the password policy, and this policy applies to all the departments. So now if each of the department wants to enforce some policy that is very like a requirement for that department only, so they can create uh, like IT poll is HR poll is like a policy for HR. IT poll is like a policy for information technology department, and again sales poll. So they have all their different conditions. So let's look at what they have done in terms of policy in their own departments. So now, first of all, uh, uh, I have kept all those policy changes a kind of visual, so that we can see the difference. We can see readily what kind of difference that policy makes. So if we go to HR department first, and we find out that if we go to user policies and then administrative, let me just open it a little bit so that we can see clearly, and click on standard so that it's visible properly. So if we go to administrative, and then first of all we find out that each of those departments have their own uh, desktop. So if we go look at this desktop, it's called HRPNG. Okay, so so that's the desktop image for HR department. Again, the second policy that HR department has changed is they don't want everybody or every user to dispose of their like paperwork. So they shouldn't be able to share the paperwork directly, put in the in the recycle bin. So if we go to desktop again, and we see that right here, we see in the desktop there is a policy called remove recycle bin icon from desktop. So if we double click on that, and this one is enabled, that means on their desktop they shouldn't be able to see the recycle bin. So the HR department, all the users in HR department, whether it be a director or a manager or any a user in HR department, shouldn't be able to see the recycle bin, shouldn't be able to share the papers directly into their computer recycle bin. Okay, so there are two policies here. First is desktop, the other one is recycle bin. Now let's go to IT department. So if we close this one, and if we go to IT policy GPO, if we click on edit, and we find out that they have their own wallpapers. So it's called ITPNG, and we'll be able to look at all those all those changes, desktop changes. So let's close this one, and let's go back to the other thing that IT department had. So if we go to desktop policies, and this one only has a desktop change. So the last one is the sales department. So if we go to the sales poll right there, and look at edit, and let's look at first the wallpaper. So they have their own desktop wallpaper, and so this one is called sales PNG, and again we'll be able to see that desktop wallpaper once we log on. So let's cancel this one, and the other changes. If we go to user, and then desktop, and this one. So if we, let's see, right, so this one has hide Internet Explorer icon. Right. So this one actually hides Internet Explorer. So in other words, sales department shouldn't be able to see anything on the desktop. So now we just saw what are the changes that we've made, and again I should repeat that all those changes that I just made are visual. So we are readily able, once we log on, we are readily able to look at those changes, and verify and confirm that those changes happened from GPO. So let's minimize this. Let's go to Windows Windows 10 desktop, and let's try to log in as, oh, so first one is, let's log in as HR person. So let me enter the password, and remember the HR person shouldn't be able to see the recycle bin, and they should have their own desktop. So let me just log in as HR person and just verify those changes, and which are coming from domain controller, and they are OU based GPOs. It's taking its time, so it should be okay. Yeah, so right now we see that human resources desktop should not have recycle bin. So right there is the recycle bin, and we don't see any recycle bin there. So this GPO is working just fine. So let's just do GPO update. Just confirm that we're just doing a GPO update again, just to make sure that it's synchronized with the client. So the synchronization came okay, and let's log off and log in back as either IT or sales. So let's log off. Okay, so now we're logging in as IT person. Yeah, things are a little slow, but it's just checking the, because all the desktops are on the server, so it has to manually uh, uh, transfer those files from there. They are PNG files, they are smaller files, but still it's a network. So now we just logged in as a IT person, so we can see information department. There was no other change in it, so we shouldn't be verify anything else other than the desktop. Okay, so now the third thing we do is log in as sales person. Okay, so now we're logging as salesperson, and let's see if they have a different desktop for their own department, and what does it say. Now, salesperson, as we mentioned before, shouldn't be able to see anything on the desktop. The desktop should be plain, no Internet Explorer, no recycle bin. So yeah, so sales department desktop should be clean, so nothing there, right? So we created, let's just go back to the server again. We in this video we created 3 different policies for departments. So This works throughout the domain. The password policy works throughout the domain, but each of the departments have their own policies, and they can manage or configure their policies as they want it to be. So their director or manager, whoever is in charge of that, they create the policies and enforce them. So this is how we can work with the GPOs in different OUs. Thank you so much, and see you again. Bye.